Hey there, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I wanted to take a dive into a place that I've never been to before and likely never will. But if the channel does get big enough, I may or may not take the journey out there. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, folks. This place is quite spooky and is considered one of the most haunted locations on the planet. But I don't see a whole lot of people talking about it. I am referring, of course, to the legendary Hoia Baciu Forest. The Bermuda Triangle of Romania, as it's called, is a forest located in the northwest region of Romania. Fittingly, it is right in the region known as Transylvania. Its dark trees carry quite a sinister reputation and even includes physical injury to those who dare trek into its depths. Alright, let's start with a look at its plant life, specifically the trees that make the forest, a forest. Here's a picture I found online. As you can see, the trees are almost fantastical in appearance. Like straight out of the forest of Fangorn in Lord of the Rings. They twist and turn in every which way. And as far as I can find online, no one really knows for sure why. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. I wouldn't say it's unnatural, but it's definitely off-putting. It almost gives like a skeletal vibe to me. Now, there are countless legends and stories that spring up in and around Hoia Baciu. Supposedly, it was named after a shepherd who went into the forest with 200 or so sheep and disappeared. Locals tend to avoid going into the forest due to stories passed down through the generations, warning of terrors within. However, the location began to garner international infamy when, in the 1960s, a biologist, Alexander Swift, photographed UFOs flying over the forest, followed shortly by a military technician, Emil Barnian, who snapped a photo of a flying saucer over the forest. That's right, folks. It's not just ghouls or goblins in these woods. No. E.T. thought that this place was lit enough to come rolling up. Here are some of the photos that Alexander Swift took that I found online. I take them with a grain of salt. The websites I found them on are dubious at best. So make of it what you will. That same man, Alexander Swift, fell ill while investigating the forest and had discovered that he had mysterious burns all over his body. This matched many local legends about those who enter the forest. Many get extremely sick with sudden fevers, burns, and scratches and whatnot. Now, it has been noted that there are some spots in the forest that do have high concentrations of uranium in the ground, and the radiation from which can explain some of the burns and sicknesses. Another legend that floats around the Hoia Baciu Forest involves a missing 4101-esque story. It involves a 5-year-old girl who vanished into the woods. It is said that she reappeared 5 years later and hadn't aged a day. I couldn't find any more details on this particular story, so if you have more details or know where to look, please let me know in the comments and I will dig into it and maybe make an update video on it. I did find out that there were many accounts of people missing time when they go into the forest. Missing time, for those who don't know, is often associated with alien abductions, missing 411 cases, and similar stories. And it's where someone is going about their day when suddenly they find themselves far from where they were, and they were many hours into the future, with little to no memory of how they got there or what happened during those hours. There are a lot of those kind of stories that I found, or lots of reports of those stories that I found online that people have when they go into those forests. They'll go into the forest and they'll notice that they were in there for much longer than they should have been, or that they had anticipated being. Another legend states that the forest houses the tormented souls of many dead peasants who were murdered in the forest. Because, of course, it's a forest and, bad things happen when people can't watch people do things. Now, people claim to have visions of these spirits. Others say that a mist can sometimes fall over a spot in the forest, and a pair of green, glowing eyes can be seen in the fog, watching those who are unfortunate enough to be caught in it. On top of this, people claim to hear voices in the wind. Cameras capture human silhouettes cameras capture human silhouettes and faces in the shadows. And there are bright lights that bob and weave through the trees. And when viewed through a thermal camera, they have no heat signature. So it's not like some sort of fire or some kind of burning swamp gas, as it said. It's just lights that just kind of float through the forest. Who knows, really? It could be aliens or ghosts, or who knows, both. I don't know. But it doesn't pop up on those thermal cameras. At least it doesn't show anything that's higher or lower than the ambient temperature. Speaking of cameras, electronic equipment also has a tendency to malfunction while in the forest. Many researchers say it is caused by the supernatural, but I also think it could be caused by the uranium deposits in the area and radiation that comes from that. I don't know. I've never been there myself, so I couldn't say for sure. And I also not a scientist, so I couldn't say if radiation does have that effect on electronics, causing like compasses to malfunction and cameras to not work properly. So I don't know. I can't say for sure. Perhaps the spookiest part of it all, though, is the claim that the forest is a portal to hell or some sort of alternate dimension or reality, and that the devil himself resides in the forest. Now I'm talking, of course, about the infamous area in the forest known as the Circle. I mentioned earlier that the trees all seem to twist without cause. They are all bent and twist around themselves, and no one is exactly sure why. The Circle, however, has no trees, nor grass, nor any plant life, for that matter. Nothing grows in the clearing. Soil has been taken from the Circle and has been analyzed, and has been determined that it is completely ordinary. There's no anomalous properties in the soil. No radiation, no toxins, no poisons, no parasites, anything. It's just regular soil. The plants just refuse to grow in this particular spot in Hoia Baciu. And some say that the Circle is the source of all paranormal happenings in the forest. I've read that some think that is the site where an ancient alien spacecraft landed, and others think that this is the portal to hell that I mentioned earlier. Those who enter the forest often feel anxious, nauseous, fatigued, and all of those feelings are amplified to the nth degree while in the Circle. Anxiety can be replaced with full panic, and nausea can be replaced with overbearing sickness. I do remember when I was a child, I was watching a sci-fi channel reality show called Destination Truth. I don't know if any of you remember that. If you do, let me know in the comments. I thought it was a pretty fantastic show. It wasn't like over the top like a lot of these other ghost hunting shows are. I mean, they were a bit ridiculous. But they were kind of the run-of-the-mill paranormal investigation show, with the twist that they also would hunt the cryptids and other creatures, Now, they went to the forest and conducted an investigation in the Circle. And there, their cameraman, who also happened to be named Evan, captured an EVP, or electronic voice phenomenon. Shortly after, he was physically attacked by an unseen force. It shoved him to the ground and left 3 distinct scratches on his arm. And if I remember correctly, it was either him or another person on that team got violently sick, and they actually had to cancel the rest of the investigation for safety concerns. And that completely lines up with a lot of local legends that these things in this forest can get physical. They can and do attack people, leave marks. They make people sick. They push them down. They are not afraid to hurt those who come into the forest. Needless to say, this place does hide some sinister secrets, and I think should be talked about just as much as these other haunted forests, like Aokigahara in Japan, which I will do a video on sometime soon. Again, I've never been, and I would love to investigate this forest. If the channel gets big enough, I think I may do that. In the meantime, I'll keep bringing you creepy stories, urban legends, scary gameplay, and investigations of local haunts in my area. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and one day you may see me panicking in the forests of Romania. Until next time, guys, stay spooky, friends.